Alrighty. Hopefully this is the last of the monsters that come out for the second week. I believe it is. Usually they don't release any more monsters. So we're going to hope that this is the last one. I'll make the video quick. So Sitri just came out again for the third time. I guess in the show, this character must be like the waifu because she seems to be the only one who gets lots of love. It is a treasure spawn, and these are the numbers. You can get drops of ether and weapons, but the likelihood of you getting the monster from the jackpot's really low. I did the calculations. It's about 800 to 850 gems, just to be aware, if you are exchanging for the 11K scroll, which is the one that you would want. Never ever go for the 30% or the 50%, unless you truly are a gambler, because it's just so risky. You never know if you just wasted 500 plus gems for nothing. So it's just not worth it. You could argue that if you got really, really unlucky, that 900 gems or the 9,000 metal monster would maybe be worth it. But do be aware that this spawn has some really low numbers, 200, 400. And if you get really unlucky on this spawn, it can be well over 1,100 gems, according to the calculator. So do be aware that it can be a much more expensive spawn than you think, but around 850 gems should be enough. Now, the question is, excuse me, is she even worth it? She penetrates, she applies erosion, which is really good for PvP, for guild battles, stuff like that. She field protects, ally diffusions, so when you get out of something like a clash or a uni, you can kill everyone on the enemy team instantly. She applies elevation, which increases the chances of you attack proccing, which is fantastic. She demerits and sets everyone's cost back to 60. Demerits usually are worse than this, so I would say this is actually pretty good. You can do quite a bit with 60 cost. However, do be aware that if you're running with morphers can get up to 200 cost, and you can really be screwing your morpher over when you throw this monster. So do be aware, but generally for most classes this is fine. The Kijin as well is also really good. The bubble is not great, but it is a bubble, so we'll go with it. And applies infinity element, which is also not the best element, but it's not a bad element either. It's not an element that I dislike. It's better than some other fields, so not bad. She awakens to 40k. She also gives 80% buff. And then frozen resistance, which I really like. I think frozen resistance is super underrated. Frozen will reduce, level 1 frozen reduces your attack stats by 50%. Excuse me. And level 3 frozen reduces it by 90%. So having frozen resistance can be extremely powerful. And then light and star resistance. Remember, light beats time and dark, and star beats light and dark. So instead of getting 1,400 defense, you're actually getting 2,800 defense just from this monster. So overall, I really like a lot of things. She doesn't give you everything. Like if you throw a Valk, for example, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting the 180 buff, you're getting the 3 procs, plus you're getting elevation, so you can guarantee proc those, right? And that is like, that's a core monster that you would constantly want to be throwing. And then you have monsters like, Minerva, and there's a couple that will give you both crit and ability power up, right? And so you would pair those two monsters together usually. This monster, however, is very weird. Like, she doesn't have this is what I do for the team. But she also doesn't have a bad side either. I mean, she gives a ton of really unique buffs and debuffs that almost everyone can use, and not a lot of monsters have. Hardly any monsters have elevation, hardly any monsters have erosion, hardly any monsters give a field and field protect at the same time. And there's a lot of monsters nowadays that don't give any percentage boosts to your stats. Even an 80 buff to all your stats can be huge. It's nowhere near a 180 buff, but if you don't even have an 80 buff, it can increase your damage quite a bit. So this is a really weird monster, right? I feel like, honestly, if you threw this monster in a guild battle and this monster, and then you tried to one-shot the crystal, I think most teams could probably one-shot the crystal with these buffs. Now, the same cannot be said for some other monsters, like Valk, for example. If you just throw a Valk, you're missing on field, you're missing on the crests, and because you have neither, there's no way you're one-shotting. There are other monsters that are good for just crests, and if those can also potentially one-shot, but the field is still very, very important. And I feel like these are enough unique buffs across a bunch of different things that she's pretty good. Like, she's good in PvP, right? Because she gives you erosion, which means that even if the enemies threw monsters, you have a good chance of surviving afterwards. She also field protects you, and gives you element, or like a pretty strong field. She gives you bubble and diffusion, so right out of uni you can kill the entire enemy. So you're getting the Keygen for penetration, and you're getting the diffusion right out. And she also gives you the 80 buff, so that when this monster goes off, you have a better chance of surviving other unis, and so does your team. Like, she has a lot of really good PvP potential because she just fills every slot. But she's like a bard from D&D. She doesn't do anything well. She just does everything so mediocre, but it's the cumulative amount of mediocrity that she provides that makes her good, because she just does so many things. It's really unusual. Same thing for PvE, right? Like, you can throw this monster in PvE, and it's a pretty good monster. There's a lot of monsters that give you 180 buff or triple proc, and they don't give you elevation. Hardly any monsters really give you elevation, and it's so good. She also gives you diffusion, so like stuff in Mobius, you can kill the entire enemy side all at the same time. And she gives you a field too. Like, there's a lot of really interesting aspects of this monster. I would say she's probably a 9 out of 10. She's not like a game-breaking monster by any means, but she's such a weird monster. I've been going back and forth in my head now for like since last night, basically, and 4 in the morning since she came out, whether or not she is a top tier monster or whether or not she's a complete garbage monster. And the conclusion that I've came to is that if you throw this monster, she will almost always give you some value, but she will never give you peak value in any specific area. She's not a Valk. She's not any other super specific monster that gives you a ton of buffs just in one area, but neglects the rest. She is a very, very good all-rounder monster, and she's excellent for free-to-play players. Unfortunately, she's super expensive, but the fact that she can fill so many slots means that you can use her in basically everything. And she's really powerful in everything. It's not just that you can use her in everything. She's also very powerful in everything. She can do high damage. So for stuff like PvP, for guild battles, she can kill. She gives you diffusion. She gives you protections, like erosion. There's nothing. I just can't see a world where she's bad, because she's good in PvE and she's good in PvP. She has to be a 9 out of 10. Whether or not you could argue she's a 10 out of 10, I'd prefer to see a 180 buff here. If I saw a 180 buff, she'd be a 10 out of 10 monster, and I'd be spawning her. But man, she's interesting. Yeah, definitely worth considering. Do I think she's worth 850 gems? I think that she is worth 850 gems if you are a new player. I think that if you are a whale or a veteran player, she is probably not worth 850 gems. Because she is a jack of all trades, she's perfect for newbies or people without a lot of monster flexibility. But for whales that have so many monsters to choose from, she falls a little bit lower on the tier list because you can use monsters in combination to create greater buffs than she will ever give you. So yeah. But overall, I really, really like this monster. So sorry that took a little bit longer, but